If you want to predict how healthy someone will be in their 70s and 80s, forget their cholesterol numbers. Forget their weight on the scale. Look at their stem cell activity. Most people think stem cells are something you need to pay thousands of dollars for at some exotic clinic. But after nearly 15 years in emergency medicine and preventive care, I've seen something remarkable. Your body already has 70 million stem cells just waiting to be activated, and certain foods can double them in your bloodstream in as little as 30 days. Hi, I'm Dr. William Lee. I'm an emergency medicine physician. And after years of watching patients decline unnecessarily, I realized something uncomfortable. We're taught that aging means inevitable decline, that chronic disease is just part of getting older. But the research tells a completely different story. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to activate your body's natural stem cell production using foods you can find at any grocery store. We'll explore the specific mechanisms that make this work, the shocking science behind stem cell regeneration, and most importantly, the exact protocol you can start today that takes just one day to begin working. Quick favor. I see messages from people who've watched several of my videos and didn't realize they weren't subscribed. Could you double check right now? It's free, takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel reach more people like you who want real science-based health information. So let's start with what stem cells actually are, because most people have heard the term, but don't understand why they're critical to healthy aging. Think of stem cells like a construction crew that lives inside your body. When you're young, this crew is massive, active, and constantly patrolling for damage. A blood vessel gets stiff, they rebuild it, cartilage wearing down, they reinforce it. But here's what happens as we age. That construction crew doesn't disappear. They're still there, all 70 million of them, but they go into a kind of dormant state. They're sitting in the break room instead of out working. The game changer is this. Certain foods act like an alarm bell that calls these workers back to the job site. Researchers at multiple universities have studied this extensively, and what they found is remarkable. When 60-year-old patients with cardiovascular disease, people with hardened arteries and stiff blood vessels, consumed 2 cups of dark chocolate made with high-percentage cacao every day for 30 days, their circulating stem cells nearly doubled. This wasn't subjective improvement. They measured the actual stem cell count in the bloodstream using flow cytometry. But that's only part of the picture. These activated stem cells didn't just float around uselessly. They homed in on damaged blood vessels and actually reversed the arterial stiffness. The measurement they used is called flow-mediated dilation, which tests how well your blood vessels can expand and contract. In these 60-year-olds with established heart disease, their vascular function improved to levels seen in people decades younger. Now, here's where it gets interesting. The mechanism behind this isn't magic. It comes down to specific compounds called polyphenols, and within that category, a subgroup called proanthocyanidins. When you eat dark chocolate with 70% cacao or higher, you're getting a concentrated dose of these plant-based compounds. Your digestive system breaks them down. They enter your bloodstream. And here's the critical part. These molecules send a chemical signal to your bone marrow where stem cells are stored. It's like sending a text message to your internal repair crew saying there's work to be done. The stem cells respond by mobilizing out of the bone marrow and into circulation. Once they're circulating, they have an incredible ability. They only go where they're needed. If you have inflammation in your knee joint, stem cells migrate there. If you have micro damage in your heart muscle, they find it. This is healing from the inside out, and it happens every single day. We just don't talk about it. Think about it this way. Your body is constantly breaking down. Every time you move, eat, even breathe, you're creating tiny amounts of cellular damage. That's normal. But without active stem cells patrolling and repairing, that damage accumulates. It's like having small leaks in your roof. 1 leak, no problem. But 100 small leaks over 10 years, now you've got real structural damage. The remarkable thing is that the foods that activate stem cells work through not just one mechanism, but multiple pathways. Understanding these pathways is key to maximizing your body's regenerative capacity. The first pathway involves direct stem cell mobilization. When proanthocyanidins from dark chocolate enter your bloodstream, they interact with receptors on the surface of stem cells in your bone marrow. This triggers a release mechanism. It's similar to how a fire alarm triggers the fire department to deploy. The chemical signal essentially tells dormant stem cells to wake up and get to work. The second pathway is even more important. These same polyphenols reduce inflammation throughout your body. Now, most people think all inflammation is bad. Totally wrong. Inflammation is very good if it's present in small amounts for a short period of time. You fall off your bike and scrape your knee. That's swelling around the wound. That's inflammation cleaning things up, like housekeeping coming into your hotel room to remove the trash and make the bed. But housekeeping doesn't stay in your room forever. They leave when the job is done. Chronic inflammation is the problem. That's when inflammatory cells stick around long after they're needed, and they start causing damage instead of healing it. When you exercise, for example, you're actually creating tiny injuries in your muscles. That's fine. It's necessary for growth. But if inflammation stays elevated, it prevents proper recovery. The polyphenols in foods like dark chocolate, blueberries, and pomegranates act like a dimmer switch on inflammation. They keep it at the right level for healing, but prevent it from becoming chronic and destructive. The third pathway involves something called angiogenesis, which is your body's ability to grow new blood vessels. A study from Harvard Medical School looked at this specifically. They found that certain foods stimulate the production of a protein called VEF, vascular endothelial growth factor. This protein tells your body to grow new capillaries, the tiny blood vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients to every cell. As we age, our capillary networks deteriorate. Fewer blood vessels means less oxygen to your brain, your muscles, your organs. But here's what surprised even me. Foods rich in polyphenols can actually reverse this. In animal studies, researchers measured capillary density in aging subjects, then introduced concentrated berry extracts. Within weeks, new blood vessel formation increased by up to 40%. The tissue that was starving for oxygen suddenly had a renewed blood supply. Now, I used to be skeptical about some of these nutritional interventions. As a doctor trained in emergency medicine, I wanted hard data, measurable outcomes. But when you look at the actual research, the evidence is undeniable. A team at the University of California studied adults over 60 with metabolic syndrome. They gave half the group a placebo and half a concentrated polyphenol supplement, equivalent to eating 2 cups of mixed berries daily. After 12 weeks, the berry group showed significant improvements in insulin sensitivity, arterial flexibility, and markers of cellular aging measured through telomere length. This wasn't about feeling better subjectively. These were quantifiable biological changes. Let me break down exactly what happens when you eat the right foods. You consume something like a cup of blueberries. Those berries contain anthocyanins, a type of polyphenol that gives them their deep blue color. Your stomach begins breaking down the berry, but the anthocyanins remain largely intact because they're protected by the fiber in the fruit. They travel to your small intestine, where they're absorbed into your bloodstream. But here's the fascinating part. Your gut bacteria also feed on these polyphenols. When your gut bacteria metabolize anthocyanins, they produce short-chain fatty acids like butyrate. Butyrate is incredibly important. It's the preferred fuel source for the cells that line your intestinal wall, and it's a powerful anti-inflammatory compound. Studies from Stanford have shown that butyrate reduces inflammatory markers by up to 60% in people with chronic low-grade inflammation. So you're getting a double benefit. The anthocyanins are activating stem cells and reducing inflammation directly, while also feeding your gut bacteria, which then produce their own anti-inflammatory compounds. This is why gut health and immune health are so tightly connected. 70% of your immune system lives in the walls of your gut. Picture a garden hose cut in half. The thick wall of that hose is where your immune cells reside. The center of the hose is where your gut bacteria live. They communicate back and forth like college roommates shouting through thin dorm walls. When your gut bacteria are healthy and diverse, they send positive signals to your immune system. Your inflammation stays low, your stem cells stay active, and your body maintains its ability to heal and regenerate. Now, here's where most people get confused. They think eating healthy means completely overhauling their diet, giving up everything they enjoy, spending hours meal prepping. That's not realistic, especially for people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who have established routines. The truth is much simpler. Small, consistent additions make enormous differences. A study from the National Institute on Aging followed 2,000 adults over 70 for 5 years. They divided participants into groups based on their polyphenol intake from food. The highest intake group, People consuming the equivalent of 2 servings of berries, 1 serving of dark chocolate, and regular tea or coffee showed 35% slower cognitive decline compared to the lowest intake group. Their physical function tests, things like walking speed and grip strength, also remained significantly higher. What this means for you is that you don't need to become a health fanatic. You need to strategically add specific foods that activate multiple beneficial pathways simultaneously. Think about it this way. If I told you there was a medication that could double your stem cells, reduce inflammation, improve blood vessel function, and protect your brain, all with minimal side effects, you probably want to take it. Well, that medication exists. It's just not in a pill bottle. It's in the produce section of your grocery store. So what can you actually do about this? Here's the exact protocol I recommend based on the research and my clinical experience. First, commit to eating 1 cup of mixed berries every single day. Blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, blackberries, they all contain powerful anthocyanins, but the mix gives you a broader spectrum of beneficial compounds. If fresh berries are too expensive or not available, frozen works just as well. The polyphenol content is actually sometimes higher in frozen because they're picked and frozen at peak ripes. Eat them in the morning with breakfast, blend them into a smoothie, or just eat them plain as a snack. The key is consistency, 1 cup every day. Second, add 2 small squares of dark chocolate to your daily routine. It needs to be at least 70% cacao, but 80 or 85% is even better. The higher the cacao percentage, the more polyphenols and the less sugar. Some people go all the way to 100% cacao, which is essentially unsweetened baking chocolate. I'll be honest, it's bitter, but if you can handle it, you're getting maximum benefit with 0 sugar. Have this chocolate after lunch or as an afternoon snack. 2 squares is about 30 gr. That's enough to activate stem cell mobilization without overdoing calories. Third, drink at least 2 cups of tea daily. Green tea, black tea, oolong, even white tea. All contain high levels of polyphenols called cacoins. The research on tea and longevity is extensive. A study from China followed nearly 500,000 adults for 7 years. Those who drank tea daily had a 20% lower risk of heart disease and stroke, and a 22% lower risk of fatal heart disease compared to non-tea drinkers. The effect was dose-dependent, meaning more tea consumption correlated with better outcomes, up to about 3 cups per day. Here's a critical tip. Don't add dairy milk to your tea. The fat in dairy forms little bubbles that trap the polyphenols, preventing your body from absorbing them. You'll only absorb about 20% if you add dairy. If you need to lighten your tea, use almond milk, soy milk, or any plant-based alternative. The dairy fat is the problem, not plant-based fats. The same applies to coffee, by the way. Black coffee is packed with beneficial compounds, but adding cream reduces their bioavailability. Fourth, eat 1 or 2 kiwis daily. This one surprises people because kiwi isn't typically thought of as a superfood, but the research is remarkable. Kiwis are extremely high in vitamin C, which is essential for collagen production, immune function, and reducing inflammation. They're also loaded with dietary fiber. 1 kiwi has about 2 Gs of fiber, and that fiber feeds your gut bacteria rapidly. Studies have shown that eating 2 kiwis a day can shift your gut microbiome composition toward healthier bacterial strains within 24 hours. That's faster than almost any other food. The other benefit of kiwi is that it's not overly sweet. It's tart, refreshing, and doesn't spike your blood sugar the way tropical fruits like pineapple or mango can. Fifth, incorporate mushrooms into your meals at least 4 times per week. Any mushroom works. White button mushrooms, cremini, shiitake, oyster, portobello. They all contain a special type of fiber called beta-glucan. Beta-glucan does several important things. It feeds your gut bacteria. It stimulates your immune system. It promotes the growth of new blood vessels. And remarkably, it activates stem cells. A study from Pennsylvania State University analyzed the nutrient content of mushrooms and found they're one of the highest dietary sources of ergoyanine, a powerful antioxidant that accumulates in tissues experiencing oxidative stress. Your body can't make ergoine, so you have to get it from food, and mushrooms are by far the richest source. The other fascinating thing about mushrooms is their texture. When you cook them, they become soft and almost bendy, so people assume they're not particularly nutritious. Wrong. That soft texture comes from dietary fiber breaking down slightly with heat, but the beta-glucan remains intact and highly bioavailable. Sauté mushrooms in olive oil with garlic. Add them to omelets, put them on salads, blend them into soups. They're incredibly versatile. Sixth, eat 1 avocado daily, or at least 5 per week. Avocados are a tremendous source of fiber, healthy fats, and potassium. One medium avocado has about 10 grains of fiber. That's more than most people get from all their meals combined in a day. The fiber in avocado is both soluble and insoluble, meaning it feeds your gut bacteria while also promoting healthy digestion and regular bowel movements. The fats in avocado are primarily monounsaturated, the same type found in olive oil, which reduces inflammation and supports cardiovascular health. Spread avocado and sourdough toast, add it to salads, make guacamole, or just eat it with a spoon straight from the skin. Seventh, incorporate pomegranates into your routine. You can eat the seeds, drink pomegranate juice, or take a pomegranate extract supplement. Pomegranates contain a unique compound called punicalagin, which is one of the most potent antioxidants ever measured. When punicalagin is metabolized by your gut bacteria, it produces urolithin A, a compound that's been shown in recent studies to improve mitochondrial function and extend lifespan in animal models. Human trials are ongoing, but early results are promising. The challenge with pomegranates is that they're seasonal and somewhat tedious to eat. If fresh pomegranates aren't practical, look for pure pomegranate juice with no added sugar, or consider a supplement standardized for pinealin content. Now, here are my pro tips from 15 years of clinical practice. Timing matters. Your body's repair systems are most active when you're sleeping, so you want to give your body the raw materials it needs before bed. I recommend eating your dark chocolate and having your last cup of tea in the afternoon around 3 or 4. This gives your body time to process and utilize those polyphenols overnight while you sleep. Avoid eating heavy meals within 3 hours of bedtime. When your digestive system is working overtime to process a large meal, it diverts energy away from cellular repair and stem cell activity. If you eat dinner at 6, why? Don't eat anything substantial after that, except perhaps a small handful of nuts or a piece of fruit if you're genuinely hungry. Hydration is critical. All of these cellular processes require adequate water. You don't need to drink 10 glasses a day. That's a myth. But drink enough that you're not feeling thirsty. A good rule of thumb is that your urine should be pale yellow. If it's dark, you're dehydrated. If it's completely clear, you're drinking more than necessary. And please stop drinking water out of plastic bottles. Use glass, stainless steel, or filtered tap water. We're now discovering microplastics in human tissue, including brain tissue. And plastic bottles are a major source of exposure. The biggest mistake I see people make is inconsistency. They'll eat berries and dark chocolate for 3 days, feel great, then stop for 2 weeks. Remember, stem cell activation and anti-inflammatory effects are cumulative. You're not taking a medication where you feel immediate relief. You're shifting your body's baseline function over time. It takes about 30 days of consistent intake to see measurable changes in stem cell counts and inflammatory markers. After 90 days, the effects become even more pronounced. Patients I've worked with who stick with this protocol report better energy, clearer thinking, less joint pain, and improved exercise recovery. Some report that chronic conditions they'd accepted as permanent actually improve. I've seen people reverse early-stage metabolic syndrome, improve their blood pressure enough to reduce medications, and regain mobility they thought was gone forever. Look, aging doesn't mean inevitable decline. The patients I see who thrive in their 70s and 80s aren't genetically special, they're not lucky. They just consistently do small things that activate their body's natural healing systems. You can do the same thing starting today. Here's what we've covered. Your body contains 70 million stem cells that can be activated through specific foods. Dark chocolate with high cacao content, berries rich in anthocyanins, tea loaded with catechins, kiwis packed with vitamin C and fiber, mushrooms full of beta-glucan, avocados providing healthy fats and fiber, and pomegranates containing powerful antioxidants. These foods work through multiple pathways. They mobilize stem cells from your bone marrow, reduce chronic inflammation, promote new blood vessel growth, feed beneficial gut bacteria, and support your immune system. The protocol is simple. 1 cup of mixed berries daily, 2 squares of dark chocolate at 70% cacao or higher, 2 cups of tea without dairy, 1 to 2 kiwis, mushrooms 4 times per week, 1 avocado most days, and pomegranate when available. Start with just 1 or 2 of these and build from there. Consistency beats perfection. The research is clear. You can reverse chronic disease. We know cardiovascular disease can be reversed. We know even some forms of cognitive decline can be improved. We know that stem cell activity can be doubled in 30 days. Your health is not predetermined by your genes or your age. It's influenced enormously by what you choose to eat and how you live. You have more control than you've been led to believe. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and give this video a like. It helps me reach more people like you who want real science-based information about healthy aging. I'll see you in the next